Hi, I'm Pamela Henry Biscup, and this is my son.
And I'm Austin Henry Biscup. And this is our mock MetalBeard Seahorse and Seagarten. And basically the idea behind it is that if you've seen the Lego movie, you know MetalBeard. He's a crazy steampunk mecha pirate with a giant ship. And the idea is that somewhere he has to have some sort of castle, a land, something great and huge. So we had that idea, and we just went from there.
And so this was kind of a collaborative project between both of you guys, just kind of working back and forth then?
Yeah. One of the cool things is she's had some amazing ideas, but not really knowing how to build them. So then I'm able to work that with her to make that work out, and we make a great team.
That's great. So you want to take us through kind of the first part here? What are we looking at in this area?
Well, we started with the base here, and we just decided that he lived on an island in the middle of the ocean. So that's why you can see it's kind of a rocky base, and then that's one of the first break levels. This is the second level, and we just started and we knew we wanted just a really crazy steampunk castle. We were very inspired by the ship set that Lego did. And it was so funny because when we started this, all the gold and silver pieces were very hard to find. We would go online and we would only be able to buy 10 of something or 20 of something. And luckily for us, just in the middle of the build, the Ninjago line started having all those gold and silver pieces. So all of a sudden it was like we could get hundreds of gold and silver pieces, which was such a boon to our project. It was great, really great.
And did you guys from the outset plan to kind of have all of this different moving parts and stuff, which we'll see more of later?
Yeah, we did. He loves to figure out how to make all that work. So right from the beginning, he knew he wanted to really have a lot of moving parts. So yeah, it just expanded from there. It just kept getting bigger and bigger.
That's crazy. So then if we want to keep moving down here, what do we have further down here?
So one of the things we realized when we had gotten basically this far up to the base, we realized there's no way to actually get to the castle. So we had to build an elevator, which usually works, but is currently not working because of the broken strings and things. But that's basically an elevator that takes you up to the actual level of the castle. And also, of course, there's the monorail that takes you from the theme park to the castle, basically, yeah.
So yeah, this whole massive thing, you got the theme park down here. How did you decide to use a monorail? Have you always been a big fan of the monorail as kind of a Lego kit?
We've never actually had monorail, and we've always been eyeing it like, oh, that's really cool. And then she had the idea, like, we got to put this in here. So we put down the money and made, it's so worth it. It's so worth it because it's so cool. And steampunk monorail, I've never seen that before. So we were like, we got to do it. So that was we really wanted to do that.
Well, this is so awesome. So you kind of stretch out here, and you can see in this area, you got a lot of the blue water and stuff. What's the build style of this water? How's that all set up?
So luckily for us, the Lego store, through the entirety of us building this, had the 4x6 blue plates on the wall, so that saved a lot on money. So basically, we just have kind of a row of bricks, and then we'd use studs just to layer the 4x6 plates at different levels. So you kind of just get this really blocky version of a wavy water. And then we go in and dress it with the light blue plates and the studs, and it takes a long time, but we got it all done.
Yeah, and I think it turned out well. And it looks like you've got it kind of in somewhat modular sections so you can, stack it up or whatever when you move it.
Yeah, that's basically all the sections are the size of either a 32 by 32 base plate or a 48 by 48.
Let's just say that the water is some of the easiest pieces to move, for sure.
Yeah.
It looks like it would be. So then kind of moving on down here, what's kind of the big tower in the middle here for?
So we were lucky enough to be in Billund this past summer, and we went to Legoland in Billund, and in the mini land there, they had this giant, like a deep sea operation. It was just this huge Lego build they had there, and we both just fell in love with it. And so then we came home and we said, how can we incorporate that into our build? And we decided that, if you're going to have all this giant castle in a theme park, you have to have a generator. So that is our generator there in the middle of the ocean.
Wow, that's really neat. I love how you've got kind of the monorail running all around it here.
Yeah. Yeah, we just thought, of course his monorail would circle all around just to go right over to the park, which is just barely across the water. We loved that idea, just, silly things like that.
Yeah. it definitely adds a lot of cool details. So then coming even further down, some more really cool stuff here. You kind of got the end of the monorail and the kind of landing area back there, the station, so to speak. And what does that lead to?
So this is the Seagarten, as the sign says. All of it's kind of supposed to be a little bit of play on words with like half like German kind of thing, because his ship's called the Sea Cow. So we have the Seahorse, and this is just the generator, and then the Seagarten kind of like theme park style area, and it's kind of just a party land. We just have a bunch of minifigures, the master builders dancing and having a party.
And it looks like you've got, is this kind of a roller coaster track? Is that something you made, or what is that from?
So that's the roller coaster track that I think was first at Brick World in 2013, I think, with Adam Reed Tucker designed it in partnership with Coaster Dynamics. It's a cool track system, but it's very hard to get working. But we finally got it working, and I'm really happy because that's all I've ever wanted out of Legos is a roller coaster. So that I'm really happy we got that working.
True. When he was a kid, he had the Brio trains, and he would always try to make roller coasters out of the Brio trains, which, of course, never worked, but it was an awesome try.
Yeah, no, and it is really cool, and it's really unique, too. You don't see Lego roller coasters like that, so it's a really unique part of the build.
And sadly, our merry-go-round is stopped running. It won't turn, and we don't know why. So we have had that running before. This was actually one of the things he was talking about earlier. This was my design and my idea, but I didn't necessarily have all the skills to put it together myself. So that was a real collaborative build between the two of us, and I just love the way that it came out.
Yeah, it came out great, and it looks like you've got some of the sort of hot air balloon builds going up and down there?
We went to the Lego store one day, and we just saw this new Ninjago set that had this Zeppelin, and that's what they were using, was those hot air balloon pieces, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we have to get this into the mock right now. I just fell in love with it. But the funny thing is, they used them on their side. So you need 8 to make a full balloon. So that set only came with 7. So we had to actually buy 5 sets to make 4 balloons. But we did it because the effect is just so amazing, I think.
Yeah, I think it is really neat. Now, I noticed over here and then also at the base of the castle, you've got all this really nice rock work. Is that hard to do? Is it just kind of like busy work with just putting a bunch of pieces down?
Well, the rock is something I've always loved. That's one of my favorite things to build. And most recently, I've really liked getting into using the curved slopes. And it's almost like relaxing, just sitting there and placing rocks. And it seems like something that's really hard to do, but it's actually quite simple. You just place the slopes and you just try to make it rock-like, and it gives such a beautiful effect. That's why I love it so much. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah.
And as you guys were kind of putting together the grand plan for this build, was there any like sketches or anything like that, or is it pretty much just keep building up and expand from there?
Well, we basically did a sketch of how many plates we thought we were going to use, and we knew we didn't want them to just have straight edges. We wanted it to be a little crazy, because everything about MetalBeard is crazy. So we just had a basic plan of like, okay, we'll put 2 smaller ones here and a bigger one here and smaller one there, and it just grew from there.
Yeah. So how long is this whole thing altogether then?
It's 14 feet, I believe, yeah.
We never had it entirely together at our house because it literally didn't fit. Yeah, but I do believe it's 14 feet.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, this is spectacular. What would you guys say is probably the toughest part of putting together kind of a build of this size with all these moving parts? What's the hardest part for you guys?
Probably the monorail and the roller coaster, because all that has to completely come apart. So when you rebuild it's rebuilt completely different every time. And that just the little tweaks on the roller coaster makes it not be able to make it over the hill, and so you have to change that. And the monorail it's hard to put all the same pieces back where they were. It changes a little bit every time. But it always, I love how it turns out, and it's always worth the 8-10 hours of setup it takes. But yeah, it's great.
And I love that you guys were so collaborative with this as well. I think that's really neat. As you worked on it, did you kind of discover where one of your strengths and weaknesses were, and what you guys were best at as you kind of worked on the project more?
Yeah, well, he's definitely a more prolific and stronger builder than I am. But at the end of this, I know so much more about, don't you think, about building and all the pieces, which is great. I love it. And I love working with him. I just think he's so amazing, the way he figures out how to put stuff together, and he just has a real gift for it. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice to work with that. He also can be very stubborn and single-minded. We occasionally get into fights. I probably quit about, I don't know, 10 times over the length of the project. You know, like, I quit, this is it, no more.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of part of the creative process,
Yeah.
you know, as you're working
Yeah.
through everything. That's
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
understandable.
Yes, totally.
And so, what kind of hours did you guys put into this generally? Was it kind of long building sessions or just a little bit of a time? How did that work?
Well, we had really short amount of time for each part that we did. Like the first castle was only built in 4 months, and then this was built later in another 4-month period. So, like this past summer, he would be in our Lego room sometimes 12 to 14 hours a day. I don't have that level of stamina. Plus, I have a few other responsibilities. But I'd have to go in there and like make him eat. I'd have to bring him water. I'd have to make him go to bed. You know, like he's very committed. Very, very, very committed.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Was this the first time you had tried a project of this size, or have you guys built other similar projects in the past?
We've done bigger things together, but this is definitely the biggest and most elaborate mock we've ever done. Yeah.
Well, I think it turned out amazing. Both of you did a really good job, so thanks for talking with me about it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
High five. No, you have